responders are always there when we need them most. These brave men and women have been out on the front lines in Houston since Harvey first hit, and one of the busiest guys has been Fire Chief Samuel Pena, who joins us now. Chief Pena, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So listen, I know there are a lot of people in the community who want to help. Sometimes inadvertently, people actually hinder the process, hinder the work that you're trying to do. So what do you need most right now from Houstonians?
So let me start by saying that how thankful we are for the community's assistance and support. They have been incredible. At the height of the storm, when their homes were flooded, we had people show up to the fire stations with donations of water and food, some clothing, and that is incredibly heartwarming, and it still chokes me up a little bit, because you think these people who have lost pretty much everything are thinking about the first responders who are out there on the front lines. Some of these first responders have when the storm first started, they remained there for 2, 3, sometimes 4 days. They couldn't get out, and we couldn't get people to come in and relieve them. So they were working constantly for this whole time. But yes, so first let me say thank you to the community for the support. Now at this point, when things seem to be at least trying to get back to normal, the waters have receded in a lot of the areas around town. People are trying to get back into their homes. There's some hazards with that. In areas that are still flooded and that we're still actively working, what we're asking the community is not to have any disaster touring, for example, because additional traffic in those areas causes issues. It's a hazard to them, and it's a hazard to first responders who are out there in an emergency situation, essentially.
So if you see a flooded area on the news, don't go there.
Don't go over there.
That's actually a really good tip, because as we were driving home from Austin, there were flooded roadways and things, and I actually thought this would be something interesting to see. You want to go and kind of see the damage, and I know people who want to go back to their homes and see how far the water's come up. They don't really think that this is going to make traffic worse, make it harder for you guys to get around and actually get to those people who really need the help.
Exactly. And if they're back in those areas and for whatever reason they get stranded, now it causes additional issues for us and for them. But this is essentially a disaster zone, and we recommend that you stay away, because there are down power lines. There are when the rain comes and the floods come, poisons, containers get buried and swept away or damaged, and so the waters are hazardous. The standing water, the flood water, and so it's not an area to go and just take a look. It's a disaster zone, and all the hazards that are associated with that are present in these locations.
Now, there was that occurrence where a boy went back to, I think, feed its cat, and the electrical wires were down, the electricity was on, and he actually got shocked to death. Are there things that people should really be aware of if they are going back to their homes, and what precautions can they take? Because he obviously didn't think anything of it, nor would the average person.
Right.
Horrible.
There are a lot of hazards that exist in these areas. We had areas with complete inundation. Anything from 3 feet of water all the way to the houses being underwater. When we have that type of environment, the hazards that are left over when the water starts to recede are things like wildlife that get displaced. They find their way to high ground, looking for food. Snakes, rodents, any of those things that may be in the home as you try to come back in. Certainly, the electrical hazard is always present. And we recommend that, well, the electricity won't be cut on if the water level rose to at least where your outlets are. It won't be turned on until you get an electrician to go out there and certify that it's actually safe. But there's a lot of other issues. There's issues with mosquitoes that are coming, and they're breeding right now, I'm sure, and they're all going to be named Harvey.
I hate Harvey even more than yes.
But that's something that we need to prepare for.
With so much water, we're not probably thinking fire first off. And being the fire department, do you have any, tips or things that we should think about to avoid fires? Because this could happen in flood zones as well. And we could, I don't know if people have like left something on that they should have turned off before going. Are there things that we could prepare for or think about just in terms of?
Yes, you know, I was up in the Kingwood area a couple days ago, and the firefighters there were saying that they had seen a couple of kitchen fires, you know, food on the stove type fire. Well, you know, it was situations where they vacated the house in a haste, and they left their food there with the, you know, with the range turned on, and when the power kicked back on, now it's a situation where it's burning food, and it can cause several issues. But again, you know, there's a lot of damage with the water can cause, and especially electrical hazards. And when the power is turned back on to that neighborhood or whatever, then there could be situations where we have shortages and we have other issues.
Now, what about a week from now? I mean, let's say eventually these floodwaters will be gone, thankfully, right? What should people keep in mind just moving forward? Are there additional hazards we should be keeping in mind? Right.
So beyond the, you know, what we mentioned, the damaged containers of poisons and pesticides and wildlife, the remediation process in some of these homes, you know, there's always the danger of asbestos being in these homes. There's structural. The integrity of the structure could have been damaged because of the moving water in their homes. So even though it may look safe, we recommend that they get a qualified person out there to inspect their homes and to ensure that they are in fact walking into a safe environment.
That's good advice.
Now, Chief Pena, you actually so graciously thanked the people who were coming out to help the fire department in this time of need. And I just want to say, you know, what would we do without you guys on a regular day-to-day basis? The amount of time and effort that goes out into your everyday life is just tremendous. What about the update on the fire department as a whole? I want to know, like, how long are these men and women going to have to go without sleep and set up forts and sleep on the floor and not have food and water on a day-to-day basis? Where are you guys at the moment?
You know what? I cannot say enough about the Houston Fire Department. I cannot say enough about the Houston Police Department, who was also out there in force. Unfortunately, we lost a police officer, and that's tragic. But that shows that the level of danger that these individuals expose themselves to. In addition to that, you know, the municipal workers. We had PWE out there. We had streets. We had other municipal workers that were also on the front lines with firefighters and police officers. But the Houston Fire Department, you know, we affected, our guys out there affected over close to 8,000 rescues, water rescues in the 5-day period. They ran over 15,000 calls in that 5-day period. And that's over three times what the normal rate is. I mean, it's an active system. We run about 1,000 calls a day. And in those 5 days, they tripled the number of calls. And yes, exactly. And those calls were serviced by folks that were essentially trapped at work. You know, they couldn't leave, but the demand kept coming, and they stepped up. Every single one of them stepped up. We had guys wanting to come into work, you know, despite of the damage that they were experiencing in their own homes, and that is incredible. That shows the sense of duty that our firefighters have in this city.
Chief Pena, we got to leave it there. Yes. I mean, we are so appreciative of everything that the men and women are doing out there, and your service to our community is just remarkable.
They do good work, and we thank you.
We're going to plead to the citizens of Houston to definitely keep helping, keep supporting the fire department. Yes. These men and women are such wonderful, wonderful people.
Critical part of our community.
Thank you so much for taking your time to come here.
Thank you, Samuel Pena.